So let's say you have a situation where there is a quote unquote error that was made. Now I put that in quotes because, when people call something human error, often it is a subjective judgment that we are making in hindsight. And what do I mean by that? Well, people are making decisions all the time within your work processes. What I mean by making decisions is, you may have a procedure, but, oh, this is out of the ordinary. They make decisions that are going to better navigate, and even in spite of an obstacle, they're able to navigate around it and they're still able to achieve the expected results. Those types of things are happening regularly within your work processes. And we never hear about them because we still get the intended results. Nothing bad happened. It's only when something bad does occur that we look at the incident and say, well, what happened? And that's where it's easy for us to pass judgment and say, well, clearly that person made a mistake. That was a bad decision. So the label of the decisions or the errors that people are making are reactive. They are in hindsight. When you hear often references to hindsight bias, we kind of have to all remember that we're all biased if we are looking at an incident that's already happened. That bias comes from the fact that we already know the outcome. We know something bad happened, so it's very easy for us to judge and say that clearly was a poor decision. However, at the time, that may not have been the intent. Often people are making decisions to try to drive some positive outcome, but unfortunately, some things bad can occur. So what happens then is when we get into human error, often the focus is on just the human condition. And we say, okay, how do we fix the person? This is where you see the solutions like retrain. We already talked through a lot of these, which you see aren't really addressing process. They're focusing on how do you fix the person. We're basically saying the procedures and the processes, they're perfectly fine. We just need to make sure people follow them. Well, in reality, what's happening is when an error is made, there are causes related to the individual. There could be fatigue, there could be those things. Like I said, I am not discounting that those may be cause related to the incident, but they aren't the only causes. Is I think what I want to see really indicated here. While there are causes related to that human element, there are also going to be causes related to the task. Boy, this task really isn't as clear as we thought. And you know what? Even though the procedures say to do this or that, they don't really do a good job of reflecting that or really communicating that to the operators. That would be interesting to reveal, because even though somebody may have issues, we may have cause related to the person, whether it be their skill set, we don't have to suffer the consequences of those if we make improvements to how we document, how do we educate people on the task, how we define how that's supposed to get done. What about the tools and the equipment? What things were out of the ordinary there that played a role? Are there any specific causes related to the materials that we're working with? As I mentioned, if we find variability there, wouldn't we want to address that? That gives us something more from a managing process standpoint to address versus trying to, quote unquote, fix the individual. And then even, like I said, the environment, same thing applies there as well. So all of those factors, and you notice I'm just using this map to kind of visually highlight that there are always multiple causes that play a role in an error. If you stop at simply human error with your explanation, then you are limited on your solution set. If we understand, or we keep driving into why questions, and we do get into specifics here and here, well, now by implementing solutions around those elements, we do have the ability to minimize the risk of the error in spite of the fact that we are forgetful, in spite of the fact that that decision, we put us in a compromising situation.